All right, we're back. This is going to be our CSIS 2200, Managing Information Systems. We are part number 4. We left off at the end of the planning phase. That was phase 1. We're going to move into phase number 2 and talk about the analysis of how we're going to implement a brand new managing information system. Now, in phase number 2 and in the analysis, we have already gone through a planning process. And that planning process was basically coming up and finding that need and going through the checks and balances of whether it's the feasibility, etc., all the dimensions. So in the analysis phase now, we're looking at sort of the lead on the project. Now, for this example, we'll call them the systems analyst. This is the person that's really in charge of implementing the new managing information system. With you guys, this is you doing your research project. And what you're doing is you're going to have to define the problem that you're trying to solve. So I've asked you to come up with and research a managing information system. Well, in that, you're going to have to come up with a hypothetical problem. Like what is that? What are you trying to solve by bringing or looking at a new managing information system? So it's hypothetical. Like you could even think of it as, well, it's a cheaper system. It's online. This is the defining the problem. The problem is that we're doing things maybe in a more traditional way. Let's say we're doing an accounting system and we're using some old software. It's done locally on the computers, and you want to implement a new cloud-based accounting system that can be shared with the clients easier. It's got better security, it's cheaper, etc. So in the planning phase analysis, you're going to come up with, this is you, the systems analyst, defining what the problem is and generates alternatives for solving it, which is you're going to come up with possibly, you're going to be doing your research to find 3 key programs, I guess, in the area to help solve this accounting program or whatever you guys decide you're going to do. And you want to look at those 3 different problems or those cases. Now, the systems analyst during this phase will clearly define what the problem is with the company. And they're going to clearly generate a report that will explain some alternatives for solving that problem. A lot of systems analysts, they come with a lot of experience. So they're going to try to attempt to understand the requirements that are going to be needed for the system through experience usually. And that's why systems analysts, if you guys go to Indeed or salary.com and check out the income for systems analysts, they make between $100,000 to $200,000 because they need a lot of experience because they can save companies so much money and their knowledge is so specialized. In that process, they normally have to understand or review everything that the company's doing already, what their requirements to determine the main problem. What is the problem with the current system or processes that are being used? What they're trying to update or repair or streamline. So the systems analyst needs a very intimate knowledge of accounting, business, finance. So this is a very well-rounded, experienced person. Also usually has an IT background because they need to understand the business aspect as well as the computer processes as well before they can really delve into the analysis to get a better understanding. So they look for ways to solving the problems by designing a new system or implementing an already built system. And I find today most companies buy systems that have been developed. Years ago, there wasn't a lot of choice, so we were constantly writing programs to solve these problems. So programmers were involved. Today, there are so many fantastic tools that are used internationally, globally, and especially when we get into the next chapter of enterprise resource planning systems, that you can just buy a system now and implement it. So about designing and programming, it's just not done that much anymore, although we do a little bit. For example, another project I'm involved with at Douglas College is course and faculty scheduling. So that there was a need for a system to be implemented at Douglas College, and we looked at all these different products on the market on how to schedule post-secondary instructors, their courses, and the students. So we just didn't find anything that was really that good for us and how Douglas runs. So we decided to design it in-house. So the system was developed actually using Microsoft Excel and a programming language called Visual Basic for Application, VBA. And that system was developed in-house. So we do still write software programs, but it's becoming less and less over the years. All right, so let's look at the 5 system design approach. Now, stepping back with the analysis, we're at the second phase of the system development lifecycle method, which again is that waterfall approach, which treats processes and the data independently. So each of these phases are very, very independent compared to another type of approach of analysis, which could be an object-oriented design methodology. So we've already looked at the JAD, that joint application design. Now we've got an object-oriented design. Now this tends to be when you have object-oriented programming languages, we look at this methodology. And this one is also a combined methodology, I guess, combines processing and data analysis together. So this is a smaller version. I guess these are smaller versions. This one here, the JAD, and also another one called Agile Design. Agile Design is actually a methodology that is being used almost more and more now, especially with a lot of like app developments. When you're developing app systems, Agile just means that you're very flexible, hence the name Agile, and it's a very iterative process. Means that you develop, fix, develop, fix, develop, fix, and it's a very rapid approach. It's done in very small incremental iterative approaches. We have rapid application development, which is similar to what they call the system development lifecycle. It's just in a very quick kind of, we know a lot of the requirements, we know a lot of the outputs. We just want to do something rapidly. We don't have a lot of time. We have to implement it very quickly. We'll take a rapid application design and maybe skip over a couple of the steps. And then finally, we have our joint application design. Again, this was a slide that was in there earlier. So what you're looking at here is a summary of all the 5 system design approaches. SDLC is sort of the grandfather, the hierarchical system, the most dominant for developing a system from the scratch up, from the basics up of a very large system. And it takes the most time, the most money, the most people. Object-oriented design, again, is around when you're developing an object programming language and you're developing a program. You can follow an object-oriented design. It has its own kind of nuances to it. Agile design is becoming one of the most popular methodologies out there for designing programs. So in fact, even in our CSIS program, we used to have this course called Systems Analysis and Design, which taught this first methodology as its primary methodology. But we don't even really teach this anymore because a lot of students don't follow that in their programming careers anymore as much as they do. Now they get more into the agile design. So if you're in CSIS, you'll be learning a lot more of the agile design methodology. Rapid application design, which I've already mentioned, is a more, it's like number 1, it's just in a more quicker, leaner way. And joint application, I've already said it's more of a communal, a committee-based, jointly working together. It's more of a peer-to-peer type of development process. So my point of showing you this slide is to say that there are multiple approaches, multiple methodologies in designing or implementing a system. So even you guys right now, I've asked you guys to implement or do a recommendation, a component of one of these methodologies. So I'm trying to build something that's somewhat meaningful to give you an idea of how some of these work. Now, all of these have commonalities. They all follow a logical flow to get to that destination. You've seen the waterfall approach right here, the SDLC. Each of these have their own kind of similar, not waterfall, like Agile is a circle. It develops the 4 stages and then it repeats incrementally. It goes through very rapidly, fast, iterative methods. Okay, so regardless of the method, the design specifications have to be defined. So it doesn't matter if you pick 1 through 5, the design specifications, what you want to do, have to be defined clearly. What do you want it to do? That's what it comes down to. What is it supposed to do? Define. Does it do your accounts payable? Does it do your accounts receivable? Clearly define what does it do. All right, let's have a look at this chart. Now, keep in mind, we're in the analysis phase right now. So what we're going to be doing a lot in this phase is modeling out how the system will interact with different parts and different systems and departments. So here in the center, we have our new main managing information system. It's some ABC, an inventory system to keep track of. You could think of like a store that has lots of inventory. It needs to be able to interact with other systems. So you need to collect and analyze. We're in the analysis phase right now. So this system needs to be able to connect with raw material suppliers. Maybe we have a lumber yard that collects wood for some reason because we have wood products that we're going to be bringing back into our inventory system. Or maybe we have a distribution center that we need, like stores that we need to be able to connect with. So that's another part. So what you're looking at here is this topographical model of how does the system interact with the other components within the managing information system. Maybe your system has to work with the manufacturing. That manufacturing has to then return information back to the system. And then over here, we've got the outside, maybe the consumers. Who is purchasing the system has to be able to access the system. So what you're looking at is an overall context of how your system interacts with all the other systems. And what you're looking at here is a planning tool to help analyze how the system, to doing an analysis of how the system is going to work with all of the other systems. Again, we're not actually building anything here. We're just collecting and analyzing at this stage. So this is an example of a context diagram, keeping in context what your system and how it works with all the other components out there and what they need to be able to work with. Now, this might look very complicated at first glance. You would think, oh my goodness, Ryan, what are you doing to us? Now, and that's kind of fair. But what you're looking at here is inside of the system. Now, if you go back a slide, this purple ABC inventory system, think of this as a box, and I open up the box, and that box, when I open it up, is this system right here. So this system right here is still purple, and that system has some kind of management inbound ordering system. It has a manage the inventory system. That's the main component. And then we have an outbound ordering system. All these three right here are components of that context. They call this like the black box. And when you open it up, this context, we can level it down and we can show how the data will flow within inside of that system. So what you're looking at here is a typical data flow diagram of the inventory system. So now I don't want to get into all the nuances here of how the managing inventory system needs to send an output piece of data to the management inventory needs to send a piece of data to the managed outbound order system, because we're not developing the details here. For this course, what I want you to understand is that when you're involved in a managing information system and the development and the connection, is that we can get down to these very specific levels. It's more likely that you guys, when you graduate from college, you're going to have a job title and you'll be working with a component of that managing it. Maybe you're working in the purchasing department, or maybe you're working in the warehouse, the data warehouse. Maybe you're working in the marketing department. So wherever you guys work, you need to know how that component works with the managing information system and where the flow of the data goes. The better you understand your system of where you work, the better of an employee and the more efficient and effective you are, and also how far and fast you're going to move up within a company's organization. I hope that makes sense. All right, so that's just an example of a data flow diagram. And in past years, I used to go through and have students actually build these. and talk about all the connections and modeling. And it was a very in-depth, detailed approach. And a couple of years ago, we changed our course because it was too detailed and it really wasn't servicing students properly. So we've cut down with those details now, and we just want you to understand that there are different components that have to work together, and you can model these. Now, if you go back to my presentation, I did my presentation on Lucid Charts. Lucid Charts is a tool to help do these kind of models. And that's one of the reasons I actually selected that topic, because a couple of years ago we had students actually building these. Anyways, I'm not going to torture you guys by getting you to model your system, your managing information system, by opening up the black box of your context diagram and creating a data flow diagram of where the input or the output goes to become the input, to become the process, to become a new input, to become a new process, etc., to get the final result. All I want you guys to think about is really, how do you fit in, and how do you, because a lot of times you'll just have to learn how to function within one area within a company. All right, that's going to end us off at this planning phase. It's the end of the planning phase. At the end of the planning phase, the analysis phase, is you're going to have to put together a report, and that report will summarize and accumulate everything that you've collected in your analysis. This will be a collection of these context diagrams, data flow diagrams, and all these other components that you'll need to put together to show the feasibility that this new system can be implemented. That output that you produce will become the input for the next phase. The next thing that happens during the analysis phase is, at the end of every phase, is a presentation. So at the end of a planning phase, you have to present to management and get the go or no go. At the end of the analysis, you're going to go and you're going to make a presentation to management, and you're going to ask again for a go or no go order. And if you get a no go, it stops here. Companies will cut their losses and they'll say, we feel like it's not worth doing at this stage. And I've been involved with many systems taking many months to get to this stage, making a presentation to management, and management says no. Something happens, the economy turns, the company takes a different direction, things change. So as you guys have to make a presentation for this course on your management information system, and again, I'll say it, I have provided to you guys a template, a sample of a presentation that I did, and a sample PowerPoint as well. You guys can use that as a model if you want. If you want to do something a little different, that's fine too. All right. But you guys will probably be involved in making presentations to management. And I'm sure you've made presentations already, class presentations. And these are important because throughout your career, you'll be making a lot of presentations to management or your colleagues on things just like this, or just even reporting back on what your job is. All right, well, that ends off part number 4. And I think what I'll do is I'll just save this as a smaller video, and I will see you guys in the next video.